Before I even got this car, I knew that I wanted to get a tune put on it, and I'd seen some articles and some videos about the awesome tunes Honda offered, and so that kind of put the bug in my ear that that's something I wanted to do. And so when it came time to do that, I went with the King Motorsports Plus 9 PSI tune. And so I want to talk through some of my experiences with the tune and how it differs from some of the Honda tunes available. So first of all, Honda offers 3 out-of-the-box tunes for the 1.5 turbo Civic with the manual transmission. They offer a plus 3 PSI tune, a plus 6 PSI tune, and they recently came out with a plus 9 PSI tune. So I kind of had my heart set on the plus 6 PSI tune. I thought the plus 9 might be a little too aggressive, but I still wanted a decent increase in power. Now, if you have the CVT version of this car, there's only 2 out-of-the-box tunes from Honda. There's the plus 3 and the plus 6. The plus 9 tune just puts too much power through the engine for the CVT to be able to handle it. So that's why I kind of went with the plus 6. I wanted something that would remain reliable but still give me a decent increase in power. So I went to King Motorsports up in Wisconsin, and I basically explained to them, this is the tune I want, I just want it flashed onto the car. And so they kind of asked me a few questions about why I wanted that tune, and they convinced me to go with their own plus 9 PSI tune. And it differs from the Honda tune in a couple ways. So first of all, it actually runs leaner than the Honda plus 9 tune. And so they explained to me that this puts less stress on the piston rings, and I had told them that I was kind of concerned about the reliability of it with a tune, and so that's why they recommended the plus 9. And also it backs off the boost above 5,000 RPM in comparison to the Honda plus 9 tune, and this actually allows the engine to create even more power. So the King Motorsports Plus 9 tune runs a little bit leaner, and it backs off the boost at top end and creates more power than the Honda Plus 9 tune. So I went with the Plus 9 from King Motorsports, and I'm really glad I did. I asked about the power output of this tune, and there's going to be some variation between all dynos, but their experience with this tune is 211 horsepower at the wheels and 247 foot-pounds of torque at the wheels, which is a huge increase over the stock 174 horsepower and 167 foot-pounds at the crank. So that's a lot more power, and it definitely influences the driving experience. So after getting the car flashed, my very first impression was that it feels so much more responsive. You know, every little input you put into the throttle has an immediate response, and it just didn't feel quite like that before. It just had a lazier feel before. And so with this tune, even if you're not getting into it, it feels more energetic. It feels like it's ready to get going all the time. And I think part of that has to do with the turbo spooling up sooner. So from the factory, Honda actually created fake turbo lag, and basically the turbo doesn't spool up and build boost as soon as it could. So with this tune, the turbo spools up sooner, and you have less of a sensation of turbo lag, and you have more response out of the engine. So that was really my first impression with this tune. I don't have many acceleration clips of the car before the tune, so it's hard to make a comparison in the video, but I'll include some clips of the vehicle now, and just the way it accelerates is so much different than it did from the factory. So from the factory, it would get going pretty well, but with the tune, it will literally throw you back into the seat, especially in second and third gear. If you get on it, it'll just throw you back into the seat, and it's kind of exciting the first few times, just because I wasn't used to the power that this car had available. Unfortunately, I do notice it kind of surges a little bit, and I don't know if it's the clutch slipping just slightly or if it's something else, but I notice, especially if I'm going downhill like on an on-ramp or something, and I just floor it, it'll kind of surge a little bit. It's just not a smooth power delivery, and I suppose I'm okay putting up with that, but it would be nice if the power delivery was smooth like it was from the factory. It just doesn't feel quite as refined, but you know, that's a sacrifice I'll gladly make for the extra power. So that's just something to keep in mind if you're getting this tune and you're expecting it to be completely flawless and everything. That's just one negative thing I have against this tune. into second gear. And you just get up to speed right away. I don't really like to go full throttle in first gear in this car, just because it just flies through first. You hit 6,500 RPM, it feels like immediately. And then when you go to shift into second, you're pushing the clutch in, move the shifter, and it just sits there at 6,000 RPM. There's so much rev hang in first gear, it's hard to get a smooth transition from first to second. So the best way, I think, to experience the extra power of the tune is to short shift into second, and then just floor it and feel that surge of torque all the way through second and most of third until you get up to speed. So I didn't really include any clips of first gear acceleration for that. It's just hard to make a smooth transition with all the rev hang this car has. And it is slightly decreased with the tune, but most of it is due to the very heavy flywheel that's on this car. And I really hope that it's possible to swap in the flywheel from the SI, because it's much lighter and it's also a cheaper part. So when I go to replace the clutch on this car, if I have it that long, I'd really like to get a lighter weight flywheel and reduce some of that rev hang. So I know a lot of people have been asking about, is there rev hang with the tune? And the answer is yes. It's not quite as bad as before, but it's still very prevalent. With the tune, there is also a slight increase in fuel economy, which I was really surprised about. Previously on the highway, I'd get kind of 36 to 38, somewhere in that range, and now I can easily get 40 or more. And in town, just normal driving, I'm hovering right around 28 to 30. I'm not entirely sure what it was before. I didn't really monitor it that closely in town, but I will say that in my experience anyway, there is a slight increase in fuel economy with this tune. So there was my short little review on the King Motorsports Plus 9 PSI tune, and if you have any questions about the tune or any questions about the car at all, just post a comment below and I will do my best to answer it.